All right. Well, welcome back to the podcast. This time we're covering Love is War, Season 1.
Hell yeah. We
I'm
big Kaguya
Storm,
head.
and the
I'm
co-host,
Seamus.
Seamus.
I'm the biggest Kaguya head around. I got her right there. I love my rom-coms.
It is honestly probably one of my favorite rom-coms that I've watched.
It's favorite rom-com in anything. It's like this. It's like fucking Crazy Stupid Love with Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, and Steve Carell is
I
up
need
there.
to watch that. I know it's really good and I need to watch it.
Oh, it's great. But yeah, I think this was I watched this when it first aired in like 2019 with my brother back in the day. I watched it as it aired, and I like from the first episode, I was like, "Holy shit!" I knew this shit was like on another level in terms of like writing and just like character development and all that shit because it was just so smooth. It was so interesting. That first fucking episode that you see about the movie ticket, you're instantly thrown into like the status quo that's going to be there for the rest of the entire series in the sense that of like how the plot operates, and it's done in such an interesting way that you're immediately locked in, that you're
Yeah.
like, this is something else, man.
Immediately just like throws you into this is how it's gonna be, and here's the narrator.
Yeah, the narrator, I think the narrator is such a good addition because it he's less of a narrator and more of like a referee, which I'm
Oh,
like,
oh,
you know what I mean?
100%.
And I'm like, that's such a good choice to make. Is not like he's narrating things. Like he's more of like a color commentator, like a Jim Ross at a WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Like he's less of like, this is what's going on now. And he's more of like, oh my God, Kaguya hit him from the top rope with a virgin bomb. You know what I mean? And you're like, holy shit, dude. And I think both sub and dub narrators with, you get to plug that you met Ian Sinclair. Fucking,
I did. It was very nice, and he was genuinely like, since I assume he probably gets more like about like his One Piece characters and his Dragon Ball characters. He was really happy that someone talked to him about Love is War.
yeah, because it's so good. And you could tell from the dub. This is one of the very few anime where both the sub and the dub are great.
Yeah,
Because normally it's like, oh, dub's good, oh, sub's good. You know, what I mean, one is slightly better than the other, but
yeah,
both can be good or one's bad. But this is truly one of the ones where you're like, wow, both of these are fucking insanely good.
yeah.
The localization team for the dub, I think, is like elite, elite
They
because the
they've
way
got
that
to be having like so much fun with it.
they not only they're probably having fun, but they are so talented in translating these jokes in such a specific and well done way that it makes sense and it flows like it was written in English to an
Yeah,
English audience. Because like sometimes when you're adapting comedy from a different language, comedy is such a different beast in different languages that when you translate it, it could almost fall entirely flat because it just doesn't have the same cultural meaning over here. It doesn't have the same
yeah,
effect. But the way that they expertly kind of maneuver that and make it so that way it is like funny as fuck in English is just so good. You know what I mean? Like let's go back to the narrator, the way that the narrator in the narrator in the Japanese is like a color commentator. He's like a wrestling, you know what I mean,
yeah.
commentator. Whereas Ian Sinclair's narrator is more of like he's more of like a like a YouTube reactor.
Yeah, yeah. He honestly, at eventually, he starts to feel like one of the characters. Like he starts to feel like a character in and of
Yeah.
himself.
Like those outtake reactions they'll throw into episodes of
Yeah.
him. And I'm like, that's a really cool way to
Oh,
keep.
yeah. I love when like they just throw in like the sort of like bloopers of it.
Yes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When they're getting to that build up of that confession, and then they don't, and you hear him go, "Oh, come on!"
Yeah, yeah. Even
And
they
he
even
says it
do it in season one, in literally the first episode. Like I think it's the
exactly.
first or second episode. He's like, yeah. So here's this stuff, and then Yeah, so we're just gonna skip like 6 months because nothing
Yes,
happens.
yes, yes. That where he deadpans go. 6 months go by. Yeah, nothing happened. They didn't do anything, and he says it in such like a disappointed tone,
Yeah.
of like a matter of fact, like, yeah,
He
fucking
says
A.
it as if like he's one of their friends that
Yeah,
knows.
yeah. Which I love his performance, and I think that is a cool. There's a very cool example of them change because I remember when this shit was airing and people were getting on the localization team of the dubs like case because they were changing jokes somewhat. Some
Uh-huh.
jokes were changed slightly more than just a translation, like they were fully like shifted. And I'm like, but that's like how it should be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and it
Like it
also,
should be changed to fit the audience.
yeah. And guess what? It also gives you a reason to rewatch it in maybe a different in the different language that you didn't watch it in the first time. Because then
Yeah,
guess what? You get different jokes. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So like, you get to watch it one time and they're making this joke, and then you get to watch it in Japanese and you're like, oh, I'm reading it. Reading it inherently is a different delivery than when I'm like listening to it. So might be a little more funny when you're reading it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is a very good example of showing the nature of how jokes can change in a language and how they effectively pulled off having these fucking hilarious
Yeah.
bits.
Yeah, dude, I remember when I was reading it, and I would read like the narrator part, I would read it in his voice.
Yeah, yeah, it's I just love this show so much. Like you can even attest to that. You can
Yeah.
even attest because I was like a prophet. I was showing everyone this show.
Yeah, I think you showed me at least season one, and then I watched season two, and then I
Yeah,
almost immediately went to the manga.
yeah, because I was like every time there was a Marvel Club where we weren't doing anything, I was like, guys, we gotta watch Kaguya and Domestic Girlfriend. These are must-watch television programs you guys have missed. And then I put it on, and then everyone was like, everyone started out as like, and then episode like
Yeah.
by four, everyone was like,
Yeah.
you gotta
Yeah.
watch the next one. What's going on? Like,
Yeah.
do it. Who's this Yu Ishigami character? I mean, it's shit like that where it was like, yeah, I was like, yes, yes, get these fuckheads to start watching good shit. Like JoJo, watch my shit. And then it was really just a ploy for me to talk about this with people. And look where we are now.
Yeah. We're doing a podcast on it.
We're talking about fucking Kaguya. But I love this show.
Yeah.
This show. It's so fucking funny.
The jokes just get like exponentially better too with
Mhm.
each season.
The writing gets slicker, the jokes get more elaborate and funnier, and more important, and also like equally importantly, if not more, the character development gets so much better. The
Oh yeah.
characters are almost entirely treated with the audience too respect, care, and they treat you like you're an intelligent adult. They don't try to like do any kind of bullshit that they do in a lot of other romance manga and any kind of manga that has any kind of romance aspect where the the whole series is them getting together and then at the end they get together they finally are like, you want to date me, and then it's over.
Yeah.
Whereas Fukuya is like, you know, that's not how that
Yeah.
works, and
Yeah.
they get together like halfway through, and then the
Yeah.
back half is like them actually fucking dealing with the issues that you deal
Yeah.
with in a relationship. And it's
Yeah.
like, wow, this was written by an adult. This was not written by some man child who was like, the hardest part is asking a girl out because what if she doesn't like me? And then they get together and it's perfect forever. And you're like, that's not how that works. Shit takes work, dude.
Yeah. Um,
It's so. Ooh.
well, I guess we might as well talk about characters then.
I love Kaguya. I would lay down my life for that woman. I love Ishigami. I would lay
Oh,
down my life for
I
that bully.
love Ishigami so much. He's one of us. One
So
of us.
yeah, you got President Kaguya, you got Vice President Shirogane. Yeah, 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 yeah. Don't question it, Storm. Yeah, Yeah, I'm rewriting my own history because in my mind she won. No, you have President Shirogane, Vice President Kaguya, Treasurer Ishigami, and
Shigami,
Secretary
Secretary
Fujiwara.
Fujiwara.
Yeah,
And
which
then no, that's not the season.
yeah, you gotta wait for her. She is next season, motherfucker. Yeah, um, I think that's also what's really very interesting is that even though they do add more characters, I think that this core group of four is solid as hell.
Oh yeah.
I think they could have done the whole thing with these four, and I think it would have worked out entirely well if they had just stuck to these four. But he doesn't.
He
He
doesn't still does it in a
fucking
very good way.
adds like three or four extra main cast people
Yeah.
that you're like, oh wow, these aren't just like they. He has a lot of recurring side characters, but he adds about like three extra main cast characters that you're like, I kind of fucking like all these people.
Yeah. He like
And
starts to
also,
sprinkle them in the first season a bit
yeah, they
too.
have like cameos because like of course you'd see them around if you go to the same school. So like
Yeah.
of course you're seeing Hayasaka, you know what I mean, before
Yeah.
you meet her. And then you meet her and you're like, oh shit. You know? Yeah, I think that like I said earlier with the character development, the character establishment is so solid. That first episode does such a good job of immediately telling you who these people are,
Mm.
what the fuck is going on and why you should care in such a succinct and easy way that it feels like it happens in like a split second and then you're immediately off to the races with them trying to be like, I need to get him to ask me out to a movie, but I can't ask him out or else I'll look like I'm losing. So
Yeah, that
I have to
that's what I love about this is that like you talked about it before, but like it starts off with like that movie like sequence where it's like showing the couple and then like the narrator goes into but no, love is actually war, and then it brings you to the main characters of the president and Kaguya where it's like yeah, they're not normal, they're trying to like make the other confess in these like 40 type chess situations.
and that's it's so good. It's such a genius premise and it's such a like evergreen premise. Like he could have kept. I feel like the character development that he had was quick enough that he could have. I think he could have extended it to the level of like a Komi-san level length manga,
Mm,
and I think it still would have been entertaining. But he prioritizes character development, so it's about like half the length of that is like
yeah.
all the character development. Because like you're reading Komi-san and you're like, holy shit, they kissed and I'm 300 chapters in. I've been reading this shit for like fucking 5 6 years, and they only kissed for like maybe would you like to kiss? And you're like, oh, I'm gonna be 80 by the time they decide to get married and have a kid. The fuck.
It's a good thing
Whereas
I dropped that.
yeah, in this, like I said, they're getting together like halfway through, where you're
Yeah.
like, okay, fuck yeah, I don't have to fucking like wait till I have kids before they decide to like fucking a.
I like that also Fujiwara is also like the like thorn in their side of like trying
Yeah,
to like plan shit because she's like
she's like
just
the
the
wild
Joker
card.
card.
Yeah, a wild card where she's just like fucking a complete agent of chaos that they both hate because she just is constantly fucking like and they call her like an agent of chaos but she literally is just like a normal person who's just
Yeah.
like, hey, you guys are having like a weird thing. Can I just hang out with you guys after? No, fuck you. We're actually doing a fucking you're ruining my plan. And then
Yeah,
she's
and
like, oh, okay, fucking A.
oh okay, I guess I'll yeah, and then there'll be like her like side missions with
Mhm.
the president of like helping him learn stuff
Yeah, because
like the
he actually
volleyball in this season.
yeah, because he like actually sucks at everything other than academics.
Yeah.
And
Which
then she's
is which is
like,
where that famous meme of you see that boy over there? I
I raised
raised
that
him.
boy.
And then Kagi's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah. Oh, and then when Ishigami gets introduced,
Oh,
and he's
immediately
like,
and he's just like, "I want to quit."
he shows up. You haven't met this dude yet. first words out of his mouth, he's like, I'm quitting because I'm going to die." And you're like, "What the fuck is this dude talking about?" And he's like, "I think Kaguya is going to kill me with their bare hands, so I
Yeah,
need."
his explanations make that infinitely more funny because you're like, where is he getting this? And then, but like through his mind, when he explains it, it makes sense, kind of.
Yeah, because he's like, because when he explains it, he's like, "Yeah, she's been staring at me, and every time I try to talk to her, she gives me the iciest glare." And then, like throughout the rest of the series, you get her side, and she's like, "Oh no, I love that kid. He's so nice."
Yeah,
And
he's
it's
like,
really,
I want to help him.
yeah, it's really just what she looks. And then I like their relationship together about how like they become really good friends. Just and
Yeah,
I thought he was gonna kill him, and then at the end of the show, he's like, "Yeah, she's probably like my best friend."
yeah.
I mean, it's character development like that that you're just like, damn.
It's also it's so funny that like he immediately like is like, they'd be a good couple. Like,
Yeah,
bro is immediate with
he
like,
clocks it. He clocks it immediately, and he's like,
yeah.
couple of this damn shit. He's right. Um,
Oh yeah, no, they do have a great relationship, and it, like, yeah, like we said, it's funny how he just quickly picks up on it, and their story is great as it continues. Because I think they sort of hint at the beginning of their friendship with,
mhm.
I believe it's like him trying to do well on the exams.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she offers to help him study, and it's like,
Yeah,
and then that's where he kind of learns that he's like, oh, she's actually not as insane as I thought. But yeah, I like Ishigami's character. I think now in like season two, Ishigami's my favorite. I think as soon as he starts getting introduced with his like love arcs, I start getting
hmm
a little like, really? We're doing this with this guy? Do we really need him to like fucking have this long-winded like, oh, I don't know if I like her, but I might like her, but she doesn't like me. Shut up! Taking time away from my two goats going at it mentally with their fucking mind powers.
I
You know what I
think
mean?
I do like his
I think it's because the
but
ending for
I
how his ends.
it yeah it's a little
Like I don't want to. I know we're
it's
only
a
talking about
little
season.
whelming.
Yeah, I know we're only talking about season one. Um, but it's hard for me to
Yeah, yeah,
disassociate my relationship with season one without also knowing where it's going.
yeah, yeah.
So that's why I'm going to preface this with I love season one. I like all this shit. This shit is incredible. It's going to be incredible for what you have. We have 3 seasons in a movie out right now, and you're probably getting
Yeah.
2 more seasons.
For
So
sure.
it's going to be good for at least 1.5 more seasons after the next two air. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like I said, the ending is to his arc is just a little like, uh,
Yeah.
uh, like yeah, I just didn't like the way he was like, he was like, look, and the cycle begins again with fucking. I hate cycle stories. I
I
hate
I
when they
I
pull that
wish
shit.
I wish he didn't say, "Oh, and the cycle begins anew." And it's like, come on, why can't they have just been better than their
Yeah,
predecessors?
yeah, I hate cycle stories. I hate that ending. I hate fucking The Last of Us. You know what I mean? The only cycle story I like is JoJo because JoJo is like, yeah, it's not actually a cycle. I just wanted to fucking write about cowboys again. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude. Whereas this shit, you're like, oh fuck, really? Like, I spent all that, and it's a testament to the show that that's like the only piece of character development that I'm like, hmm. And even then, I don't hate it. I just am a
Yeah.
little frustrated by it,
Yeah.
which is a testament to the rest of the character development, which is fucking stellar. That was the only thing I didn't like. So
Another arc that they like start to like that they start in this season is the Fujiwara ramen enthusiast one.
yeah, that's a long one. That lasts
That
until
yeah,
about like
that
the
that
last
goes
two
till
chapters.
till till like I think basically the end.
Yeah, no,
surprisingly.
her last ramen arc is like one of the last like 10, 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love how there is like running episodes, like running themed episodes because in each episode you get three stories.
Yeah.
Um, but I do love how there are like multi-part stories and there are like thematically multiple stories like you said with the Fujiwara teaching the president and like Fujiwara's like ramen thing, and there'll be reoccurring ones like where like Kaguya like helps Ishigami study.
Mm.
Like, all right, this is kind of, you know what I mean? It's nice when they revisit a story that they did in the past with another part, but this time there are like a bunch of different extra characters. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they'll do the same episode, but this time, oh, you have Hayasaka and Ino also there. So how does that change it? And how did the characters' relationships with each other now change how they do this exact same thing that they did
Hmm.
like 2 seasons ago?
It's also another really funny bit that they kind of do. I don't know if they continue this, but I know it's in this season, is when they think Kaguya and the president each will give like really good relationship advice, even though neither of them have been in one.
Yeah, yeah. And then they just kind of wing it, and they're like,
Yeah. They're like, oh wow, that worked.
yeah, and then they're like, and they're like, oh fuck, that worked. And then the other people are like, wow, these guys are really smart. And they're like, we've never been
No,
in a
no.
relationship in our lives, bro. We made this shit up. Like literally, Shiragani's like, hey man, coaches never play. And you're like, oh man, yeah, that's a good reoccurring one. Is the advice ones.
Yeah.
There's so many good ones. I think my favorite story from this season is the I have to say it's the bike one. It's
That's
the
a very good
umbrella one.
one. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where when it's raining and they both have to share an umbrella and they're having the argument over that, and she has the whole thing where she's like, "Actually, I know you checked the weather because of all this shit." And then he has that fucking head, that cranium he gets when he's
Yeah.
sucked in. He goes, "Yeah." That's a great one. I think that
Yeah.
is my favorite of the
I
seasons.
think my favorite is very similar to that, but it's the one where she pops like the tire for the car or something. Something happens with the car and she ends up having to walk to school and she helps
Mhm.
the kid walk to school and figure out how to learn new friends, learn
Oh
to have new
yeah, that's a
friends.
good one.
That yeah, that one's really good because it even applies to herself and then he ends up like picking her up and going over there with her to school.
Yeah, that's a good one. Gosh, yeah, I think that out of all of the finales, I think this season one might be the weakest, just because the fireworks bit,
Yeah.
and I think the fireworks bit hit hard when it aired, but then when you watch the rest of the series and you see all the other like finales they
Yeah.
got, you're like, ooh, those ones got more sauce to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
I will say it's very good because it really, I feel like, signifies the start of like them sort of changing a bit and becoming a lot more closer.
yes, it is like the first indication. It basically is like a metatextual thing where it's like, hey, these characters are going to change quicker than you think. Like, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because it's the author coming out and being like, "Hey guys, I'm starting these guys character development, so get the fuck ready."
Yeah.
Then already by season 3, they're you know what I mean. He got
Yeah.
2 more seasons until it's like the whole premise is shot, and then you're like, "Oh, well, what do we do now?"
They also in I think it's towards the end of the season, they start to the author starts to like present the Ishigami backstory and Kaguya's backstory.
Ishigami's kind of got on my nerves sometimes because I was like, for all the other realistic and really down to earth shit that he wrote in this manga, I was like, this thing is so like J drama, K drama y. You know what I mean? Where you're like, all right, dude, like it just got a little too dramatic for my taste that I was like, and I think it was purely just because it was comparing it to the other stories that he tells in this that
Mm,
were far more realistic and far more like, oh wow, that's a super real thing that people are dealing with in high school or having conversations about with high school. Like to give an example, like um the way that sex is discussed in this manga is done in such a realistic way that like you know what I mean that it's done in a way that's like they still joke about it. It's still like, but they
yeah,
also
yeah,
like have some serious discussions about it, and it's like, oh wow, that's interesting and refreshing. So it's a little jarring to immediately see something that might be more more stereotypical in a manga in this
yeah.
because this has been comparatively so progressive in its character development and discussion. Yeah, it is. I enjoy it a lot. I think it's fucking sick as hell. I think everyone should check it out. It's up
Yeah,
there.
I love it.
It's one of my favorite comedies, up there with like a One Punch Man type deal. Like a I know what you want to suggest as your next one.
No, no, not yet.
Not yet. Why
No,
not?
because it's just ending. Like the dub hasn't even finished yet. It has like I think 2 episodes left, maybe.
Well, I watched the sub, so it
I was
has.
watching the sub at first until they surprisingly got a dub really fast.
Yeah, they did. But
I
anyway,
think it's good.
we're talking about
I
Undead
know.
Unluck. By the way, I don't want to keep
Keeping it
having people go like,
mystery.
well, they're talking about this fucking thing I don't know about for 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, I cannot. I will. We will eventually.
All right. We got Monogatari on the list. We got Undead Unluck on the list.
Wait, before we get into what we're gonna cover, let's just wrap up.
We'll do a rating for
Yes,
Kaguya.
rating,
It's a
rating,
10 out
and
of
then
fucking 10. Watch that shit.
yeah, yeah, watch it.
No,
Great,
no, it's on
great,
season one. Season one's incredible. You're gonna get hooked in. You're gonna fucking love all these people.
great
And it
rom-com, hilarious.
makes you believe in love again.
Okay, now to talk about what we're gonna cover.
Are you really gonna edit out every BBL Drizzy reference I just made?
Maybe not all of them, but some of them.
You're gonna just do a super cut where I'm gonna be like, the next thing we should watch, and then it's just me saying BBL Drizzy eight
Yeah.
times in a row cut. But anyway, coming up possibly next on the podcast, I said Monogatari. I had a whole explanation. I'm not sure whether or not we will be hearing that based off the editor's preference, but
Um,
you said Undead Unluck, and I
I
went
would
wrong and
very
said
much,
later.
I would very much like to do Undead Unluck.
I'm gonna throw out Vinland Saga and Doctor Stone.
I would do those for
Yeah,
sure.
you would, but you're not excited, fucker, because you don't know the
I
power.
no, I want to watch Vinland Saga, but
Yeah, there's all slavery. See, I'm suggesting ones that sound bad.
you think we could convince Mikey to finally watch JoJo?
I think we could. I think he would be down for it after hearing about it so much from us.
Because then we could also we would 100% get Edwin on for it too.
Yeah, we get like 10 people on for JoJo because they'd all be like, "Yes, I would love to talk about
Yeah.
JoJo."
Well, I'd say if we do JoJo, we'd have to do part 1 and 2.
Yeah, of course. I was literally because like I love part one, but it is only 9 episodes,
Yeah.
and it's easy to just do that in one whole 24 episode, thing. Than trying to do one like 20-minute part four episode and then one 40-minute part two episode, and then you're like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, the difficult part would be at least for the later seasons would be like we'd have to combine certain arcs and figure out which ones would work the best for doing in one.
I think we could just do super episodes of those ones.
What,
'Cause
just
you could
like
make
a few, just like multiple hours long
you could do, yeah.
podcast?
I straight up think you could do if you're doing like a full JoJo part, you could definitely hit like hour and a half for like 2 hours for like a full JoJo part.
We've hit we've hit close to that in previous
See,
episodes.
that's what I'm saying. I think I could get through an entire JoJo part in like 2 hours. Because there's stuff in every part that you're gonna be like,
You're
and
gonna
then that
probably
fight
skip.
happens.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
even not
I feel
skip,
like
but like just have like an offhand mention. Like, do we
I feel
really
like
need
that's
to have
gonna
a 20
be.
minute sequence
y-
on Burn Dragon's Dream? Really? No.
I hate that fucker.
I hate that. See, we hate that fucker. We wouldn't even spend time on him. We would just be like, and
Part
then the
three. That would
dragon.
happen in part three a lot though, with the amount of fights it has.
Well, then you're gonna be like, yeah, and then they fight a puppet in a hotel room. Anyways, then Cacuin starts looking
Anyway, he
very
wants
weird.
to stab his nuts.
Yeah, exactly. And then you know what I mean. And then we have a little giggle about it, and then we go on to talk about the arcs that we fucking enjoy. And
Yeah,
not that we don't enjoy those arcs. It's just that some of those arcs in those parts, you're like, okay, this is a random ass fight to have at a random ass time that's not advancing anything.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So we got some coming up. I'm sure we will either make a decision now, and if we don't, then I'm sure Storm
Then
will.
it'll be a surprise.
Yeah. By putting out a random fucking episode that you're all gonna be like, oh, okay.
Oh, it's out 3 months later.
Oh, I guess they decided to review Shogun instead. Um but yeah, I assume we're gonna leave it up to a surprise because of course Mikey couldn't make it this time, so we're just
Yep.
gonna have to confer with him, but
Yeah.
we have that list going. So
Which I will text him soon about
keep
that
a
actually.
lookout,
Please subscribe.
please. Not for like any kind of monetary thing. We're not trying to
Yeah, no.
we want you to subscribe
That
so that way we can have more people to just talk about JoJo with.
yeah.
Anyways, I've been Seamus.
I've
That's
been
been Storm.
Storm.
Thank you for watching.
Have
God
a good
bless.
one.
Have a good night.